A man who smoked a dozen cigars a day tried everything to quit, but without success. He finally heard about a doctor who promised a foolproof method. "You're going to think this is crazy," the doctor said. "But every night, before you go to bed, stick a cigar all the way into your rectum. The next morning, pull it out, put it back in the wrapper, and place it with the rest of your stogies. You won't be able to tell which one you stuck up your butt. Therefore, you won't smoke any of them." The man was skeptical, but he gave it a shot. A month later, he went back to the doctor and reported that the treatment had worked, and he'd quit smoking cigars. "Great," the doctor said. "I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, but now I've got another problem." "What's that?" the doctor asked. The man replied, "Now I can't fall asleep without sticking a cigar up my ass." After 37 years of marriage, Jack cheated on and dumped his wife for his young secretary. His new girlfriend demanded that she should live in Jack's and Emma's luxurious house, and since Jack's lawyers were of a higher caliber, he received the house in the divorce. He gave his ex-wife Emma 3 days to move out. She spent the first day packing her belongings into boxes, crates, and suitcases. On the second day, she had the movers come and collect her things. On the third day, she sat down for the last time at their beautiful dining room table by candlelight, put on some soft background music, and feasted on a pound of shrimp, a jar of caviar, and a bottle of Chardonnay. When she had finished, she went into each and every room and deposited a few half-eaten shrimp shells dipped in caviar into the hollow of the curtain rods. She then cleaned up the kitchen and left. When the husband returned with his new girlfriend, all was bliss for the first few days. Then slowly, the house began to smell. They tried everything, cleaning, mopping, and airing the place out. Vents were checked for dead rodents, and carpets were steam cleaned. Air fresheners were hung everywhere. Exterminators were brought in to set off gas canisters, during which they had to move out for a few days, and in the end, they even paid to replace the expensive wool carpeting. Nothing worked. People stopped coming over to visit. Repairmen refused to work in the house. The maid quit. Finally, they couldn't take the stench any longer and decided to move. A month later, even though they had cut their price in half, they could not find a buyer for their stinky house. Word got out, and eventually even the local realtors refused to return their calls. Finally, they had to borrow a huge sum of money from the bank to purchase a new place. The ex-wife called the man and asked how things were going. He told her the saga of the rotting house. She listened politely and said that she missed her old home terribly and would be willing to reduce her divorce settlement in exchange for getting the house back. Knowing his ex-wife had no idea how bad the smell was, he agreed on a price that was about 1/10 of what the house had been worth, but only if she were to sign the papers that very day. She agreed, and within the hour, his lawyers delivered the paperwork. A week later, the man and his girlfriend stood smiling as they watched the moving company pack everything to take to their new home, including the curtain rods. A few weeks ago, a feminist told me about the Dwayne Johnson rule. The rule, as she explained it, was that in order to determine if a particular comment was appropriate to say to a woman, first ask yourself, would I be comfortable saying this to Dwayne Johnson? If not, don't say it. I thought this sounded like a good rule, so I told her, your chest is freaking epic. A couple gets married. 40 years later, they're in the same hotel room they spent their honeymoon in. She takes off her clothes, lies down on the bed, spreads her legs, and he starts to cry. She says, "What's the matter?" He says, 40 years ago, I couldn't wait to eat it, and now it looks like it can't wait to eat me. A woman comes home and tells her husband, "Remember those headaches I'd been having all these years? Well, they're gone." "No more headaches?" the husband asks. "What happened?" His wife replies, "Margie referred me to a hypnotist. He told me to stand in front of a mirror, stare at myself and repeat, "I do not have a headache, I do not have a headache, I do not have a headache." It worked. "The headaches are all gone." The husband replies, "Well, that is wonderful." His wife then says, "You know, you haven't been exactly a ball of fire in the bedroom these last few years. Why don't you go see the hypnotist and see if he can do anything for that?" The husband agrees to try it. Following his appointment, the husband comes home, rips off his clothes, picks up his wife, and carries her into the bedroom. He puts her on the bed and says, "Don't move, I'll be right back." He goes into the bathroom and comes back. A few minutes later, he jumps into bed and makes passionate love to his wife like never before. His wife says, "Boy, that was wonderful." The husband says, "Don't move. I will be right back." He goes back into the bathroom, comes back, and round two was even better than the first time. The wife sits up and her head is spinning. Her husband again says, "Don't move, I'll be right back." With that, he goes back in the bathroom. This time, his wife quietly follows him, and there, in the bathroom, she sees him standing at the mirror and saying, "She's not my wife. She's not my wife. She's not my wife." His funeral services will be held on Friday. Morris wakes up in the morning. He has a massive hangover and can't remember anything he did last night. He picks up his bathrobe from the floor and puts it on. He notices there's something in one of the pockets, and it turns out to be a bra. He thinks, "What the hell happened last night?" He walks towards the bathroom and finds a pair of panties in the other pocket of his robe. Again he thinks, "What happened last night? What have I done? Must have been a wild party." He opens the bathroom door, walks in, and has a look in the mirror. He notices a little string hanging out of his mouth, and his only thought is, "Please, if there's a God, let this be a tea bag." Roger is a hard worker, and he spends most of his nights bowling or playing volleyball. One weekend, his wife decides that he needs to relax a little and take a break from sports, so she takes him to a strip club. The doorman at the club spots them and says, "Hey, Roger, how are you tonight?" His wife, surprised, asks her husband if he has been here before. No, he's just one of the guys I bowl with." They are seated and the waitress approaches, sees Roger and says, "Nice to see you, Roger. A gin and tonic as usual?" His wife's eyes widen. "You must come here a lot." No, says Roger, "I just know her from volleyball." Then a stripper walks up to the table. She throws her arms around Roger and says, "Roger, a table dance as usual?" His wife, fuming, collects her things and storms out of the bar. Roger follows her and spots her getting into a cab, so he jumps into the passenger seat. His wife looks at him, seething with fury, and lets Roger have it. At this, the cab driver leans over and says, "Sure looks like you picked up a bitch tonight, Roger."